The razor-sharp claw extended from the tip of his index finger, then withdrew back into the flesh. Again and again, over and over, until the woman seated across the table slammed a tile down so loud that half the occupants of the gaming tables around the room drew weapons and jumped from their chairs. Once they saw no threat, everyone went back to their games, with a few chuckles, some grumbles, and more than a couple of curses. "Yes, you are half servile," the human woman snapped as she began rearranging her upset tiles. "We get it." "You got something against serviles?" the man asked. "I've got something against halfers that like to shove their disgusting genetics in pure-blooded beings' faces," the woman growled. "Ain't right." "You think you're pure?" the man asked. Chill, the nervous-looking Ferg said, from the seat directly to the man's right. "That thing you do with your claw is a little distracting." The man turned and glared at the Ferg. Glared down. Fergs were a short race, around a meter tall, and looked like a cross between an ancient earth beaver and a praying mantis. More fur than bugskin, but those bug eyes tended to make folks uncomfortable. It was the Ferg's turn to be uncomfortable as the man continued to glare. The man was a halfer, half human and half servile, which was a humanoid feline race with all the deadliness that came with that comparison. While the man wasn't completely covered in fur from head to toe, he did have a thick beard of fine red hair that covered most of his face. He could easily pass as full human if he didn't constantly show his genetic makeup by extending claws from the tips of his fingers. That, and the pupils in his golden eyes were vertical slits that pulsed in and out as he stared at the woman seated across from him. "Call me a halfer again," the man, Etch Knowles, said. He set his forearms on the table, almost on top of his row of tiles, then leaned forward. "Do it. Call me a halfer again." "Can we keep playing instead of spitting?" a severely obese Irvane asked from the seat next to the woman. The bear-like race, Irvanes could top 8 feet in their prime and were built of muscle and thick hair. The Irvane in question had let himself go a long time ago and could barely reach his tiles from across his enormous belly. "I got a business appointment an hour after dawn," the Irvane continued, as he swiped his wrist and brought up a chrono reading. "That's in less than 2 hours. I'd love to win some of my chits back before then." "Fat chance, fat ass," Etch said, his eyes still on the offending woman. The woman was in her mid-30s and beautiful even with the deep, jagged scar that ran from her left temple across her cheekbone and down to her left nostril. Dark skin with short, cropped platinum hair and bright green eyes, she turned heads when she'd walked into the gaming room 15 hours earlier. Now she looked haggard and tired, not to mention close to homicidal, as Etch continued to extend and retract that single claw from his index finger. "No need to get personal," the Irving grumbled. "Call me a halfer again," Etch said to the woman. "Play your tile," the woman replied. "It's your turn." The corners of Etch's mouth turned up in a brief smile. He leaned back, studied the woman, looked down, and studied his tiles. Then selected one and set it in the center of the table next to 2 similar tiles. "3 set," Etch said, and the brief smile became a permanent fixture, widening until it took up his entire face. 17s. Anyone got 18s or higher to slap down? No? The entire table complained as they mucked their tiles into the discard chute, except for the woman. "Don't need 18s when I have a set," the woman said. She placed a tile next to 6 others and smiled as the numerical progression lined up perfectly. "Line of 7. Hard to beat that." "Very hard," Etch said, and placed a 4th, then a 5th 17 tile next to the set of 3 already in the mix. "But not impossible. Set of 5 beats a run of 7. That's how this game works, right?" The woman leapt up from her chair, her hand reaching for a pistol that wasn't on her hip. She slapped at her side for a second, then rolled her eyes and sat back down.